Welcome to Quick Edit number 19. Today I'm gonna take this raw file and create a dramatic black and white picture out of it in, as always, just about 5 minutes. So this is an industrial building. It's a little bit different from what I usually shoot, but I really thought it had something, some interest, and I especially liked the shadow part on the one side, and I decided to use a 5-second exposure time so I could get some nice movement in the clouds, and I think it turned out pretty cool. So let's go into black and white, because I really think that picture works the best in black and white. Really no interesting colors. Then I'm gonna bring up the shadows a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring down the blacks. That's one of my black and white editing tricks, bringing up the shadows and bringing down the blacks. That way you really can get some contrast while not making the whole or a lot of the picture look very black. You know, here is the shadows at 0, and you see it's just all of the detail in this side is gone. So that's why I usually bring up the shadows and bring down the blacks. Then whites, usually I would bring them to the right and stop just before they clip, as you surely know, but I feel like in this kind of darkish, moody-ish picture, a little bit less would work better. So something like this. And highlights, I'm definitely going to bring down the highlights all the way just so we retrieve a lot of the detail in the clouds, and I definitely think that works best. And actually I might even bring up the white slider a little bit more, since we brought down the highlight slider all the way. Then contrast, I might even add a little bit of plus contrast, and in exchange bring up the shadows even more, maybe to around 93, something like this. Overall exposure, I feel like it's a touch too dark, so I'm just gonna bring that up by 1/5 of a stop. And then clarity, I definitely think that plus clarity will work very well in this picture. Indeed it does. I might go around 50. I don't want to do it too much on the entire picture. I'm gonna add a little bit of local clarity later, but for now I just think I'm gonna go around plus 50 here. Then tonal curve, I'm bringing up the highlights as always. It really helps to create dynamic and give a lot of interest in terms of lighting into the picture. Then the rest, just gonna play around with it, stick with whatever looks best, yada yada yada. And I feel like that looks pretty good for the start. Now, because this is a 5-minute quick edit, I really don't think I need to do anything else. Now obviously if you're editing a picture for yourself and you have more than 5 minutes, then go through all of these settings below. But you know, the point of the 5-minute quick edit is to show you that you really don't have to spend an hour or half an hour in order to get a great picture. So the last thing I'm gonna do here actually is go to radial filter, and as always add dodge and burning, but I'm actually gonna do that on screen right now because I feel like it's very important for this photo. So as you can see, the whole scene, you know, the whole side of this building is pretty evenly lit. So what we want to do is create some interest in it. I do that by grabbing a radial filter, bringing the feather to 100 and inverting the mask. That way the whole process looks very natural. And then I'm first of all going to start off with plus exposure. By the way, you can mix those, your exposure with clarity or contrast, for example. So I'm going to add a little bit of clarity that really helps to give the look of the radial filter a little bit more crisp feel. I really suggest you to play around with that. Then I'm just going to right click and duplicate and drag it over different parts of the images. Sometimes you have to go back to another radial filter and just kind of lower the exposure there. Then I'm going to duplicate it once again and create some interesting lighting here. Duplicate once again and maybe a little bit bigger down here. And a last plus exposure one in the bottom left. Then another thing that you definitely want to do is, actually let me duplicate it once again and bring one over here, just a little one. Yeah, I definitely think that works really well. So what I was gonna say is that in this picture I really think negative exposure works even better than plus exposure in order to create interest. So I'm gonna create a bunch of minus exposure filters and just kind of bring them in between the plus exposure filters. So here are the plus exposure and here is the minus exposure in the middle. And by the way, these filters always look bigger than their actual effect are. So I'm not really going over the plus exposure filters with my minus exposure. I'm really just going in the middle. So duplicate, then I really think a bigger one down here, maybe even add a little bit more contrast. Then duplicate this once again and just make a very, very dark one here in the middle. Something like this, and maybe a little bit down here, and the last one right there. Actually, never mind, not the last one, just gonna create another one here and just kinda make this whole part of the building very dark, maybe even a little bit more. And I really think we've ended up with a pretty cool picture. Now obviously if you have more time, once again you could fine-tune that and create even more radial filters, different ones, different textures, different sizes, but for now I really think we already have a pretty cool picture, and I definitely think it's looking great, especially for just investing 5 minutes into it. So here's the before and after, so you can see really a drastic difference. Let me go into the history as well and show you the before in black and white, and here's the after. Just a ton of difference, ton of interest added. So thank you as always very much for watching. If you would like to see more videos just like this one and other a little bit more in-depth Lightroom tutorials, be sure to subscribe. And if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, that always helps me out a ton. Thank you so much for watching, and I want to wish you a great day.